So welcome to the Embrace Your Destiny podcast. My name is Sandra Dawes and I'm your host. And today we're talking with Anna Wilk. And Anna is a mentor who works with women who are ready to conquer their fears, build confidence, and take their business and private life to the next level. She is currently working on a mastermind program, and ultimately she wants to support women so their children grow into educated, confident adults. And Anna, we met in September of 2017 in Mallorca. We've been a member of the Female Entrepreneurs Association. I know I joined in 2016. I think you've been there much longer than I have. And it was just such an amazing experience to meet you in person after, seeing each other in the Facebook group and that sort of thing. But that experience in Spain was an amazing one.
Thank you for having me. Yes, it was really lovely, connect through FEA and then meet each other in person, because it's such a different experience to what we experience in an online world. It's I've been in FEA since 2014, and so I've been a while there, and I've seen many ladies growing their wings and taking on new adventures, and I'm really happy to be on your podcast today.
And I'm so excited to have you. And so for those of you who may be new to the podcast, the purpose of the Embrace Your Destiny podcast is really to showcase the stories of women who have been through their own trials and tribulations in life, but they've found that silver lining, they've seen the light at the end of the tunnel, and they've been able to get through to the other side stronger for that experience that once seemed very negative. And so, Anna, I would love to hear your story and your experience.
Yes. So my story started in 2003. That was one of my biggest challenges. At the time, I was living in Poland, and I started my first business, which was a physical shop. I was selling lovely little gifts, and at the time, it was just the beginning of my adventure as an entrepreneur. And Polish economy is very different to the rest of the Europe and the world. We struggled with communism and with different political parties. So for me, the biggest challenge there was, how do I manage that without, having much of financial support? And I was doing okay. I was doing fine. But I realized that the biggest strain on my finances were paying for my insurance. And believe it or not, I was paying, 3 times for my insurance, like national insurance contribution, 3 times more than I was paying for renting a place to run a shop. So quickly my debt started to grow, and I had to find out, a way how I can sustain that and how I can, keep doing what I was doing. And there wasn't much of a choice for me at the time. And I think, sometimes in extreme situations, we need extreme solutions. I had a friend who was living at the time in England, and I thought maybe if I come over and I work in somewhere in a low level job, maybe I can get some money and try to keep my business going. So after maybe 2 or 3 months thinking and struggling to how I'm gonna find myself in England, I don't really I haven't been to England before. I don't really speak the language. I don't have any required document to find legal work. How I'm gonna do it. But I was determined. I was really determined to keep my business going and keep this passion for what I really wanted to create. I was selling lovely handmade soaps and beautiful little gifts I saw, and I saw a future for myself, not working for someone else, but working for myself. So I scrambled all the money. I literally had probably around £300. I took my backpack. I jumped on a bus because I couldn't afford the plane ticket. And we didn't have cheap flights at the time. It was 2003. And I came over to England. My plan was to stay maybe 2 or 3 months, earn some money on a low-paid job and go back. So that was 15 years ago.
Right.
And I knew only one person here. As I said, I didn't speak any English. I was determined to not to keep myself in a debt. I wanted to keep my business going. I came over, and I remember the next day when I arrived, I was walking through South London in Camberwell and thinking, what on earth have you done? It's like you just suddenly, this reality hit me, like you standing in the middle of the massive city, city. There's not many cities like London in the world. You don't speak the language. You have no right to stay here longer than 2 weeks because you are on a tourist visa. You have to figure it out.
And you have no family there either.
I have no family, no. So for me, it was like a bucket of cold water over my head. But at that time, it was too late. I was here. So there was no way of, I could, pack my bags, but there was something, stronger in me. And I have to make it work. I just have to make it work. And at the time, I knew only of one place where I can possibly, go and ask if they take anyone. I knew there were, other foreigners working, and they were, it wasn't, the most legal place, but we knew we're not going to be in trouble. So I've stayed, and I meant to go back to Poland for Christmas. And at that time, I realized I don't need to struggle. In England, if I really want something, I can achieve it without, putting strain on myself and being so stressed and, paying, triple for what I pay for my renting my place, to pay my insurance. National insurance contribution, because the economy in Poland is really different, and running a business is very different. So I've decided to stay. And then in 2004, Poland joined European Union, which becomes, completely new, different story, because then we could, go and get any job we wanted. And through that time, I decided to go to college. I decided to learn the language. I've decided to, get some qualifications. And within 2 years, I was working as a assistant manager in a shop. And I knew it was temporary. And I knew this is just luckily to, a bus stop to, going back and running my own business again. It was just a matter of time. So, it was really hard work. I remember, sometimes thinking, what on earth I'm doing here? I've got MBA. I've done, I finished university in Poland. I've got a degree, and I am just doing low-key jobs here. Going back to college, sitting, in a chair and studying the language I don't really speak. And trying to, to figure it out all my, for myself, like, from the beginning, like you are, at the school again, and you try to think, what you should be doing next and how to make it work. It was really interesting experience, and kind of going back to basics and forgetting what I had, back in Poland. I had family, I had friends, I had
a life.
Alive, and I actually was very much involved in bringing Poland to European Union. I was since I was 16. I was working with government and organizing conferences and workshops, educating students and college kids about European Union. So for me, that was something like really completely starting from scratch, because I could have work in Warsaw, work in politics, do completely different things, and yet I chose come over and start again from the scratch, from literally beginning, and through these years establish myself, build a business from the scratch again, really work hard on. But it is possible, and my biggest lesson from that is, if you really put your mind to something and if you really want to achieve it, you can do it. And it is a hard work, and sometimes you have to forget who you are and what you achieved in the previous life or before, and just get over your pride and ego. And keep, putting one step in front of another.
I think that's the challenge, though, right? Is that it's a humbling experience, right? Whenever we go into uncharted territory, when we want to try something new, but there's this pull, right? Because I think that you felt that there was this pull to do more. That even if you had to do these things that they were just temporary, that this was just a means to an end. And sometimes we have to do things just to get us where we really want to go, right? And it's not fight it, and know that it isn't forever. It's just a means to get us where we need to go. So as long as you stay committed and focused on that final destination, what you're working towards, then that stuff doesn't discourage you as much as it could.
Yeah, and I think if you focus, on where you're going rather than on what might happen, or what might go wrong, or then you are good, you're all fine. You just need to stay focused on the end goal, and sometimes it's whatever it takes.
Yes.
I seriously remember at some point I was having 3 different jobs and going to the college in the evening, because I knew this is my only way. I mean, I cannot understand this country law and how I can start a business and how I can, without actually speaking the language. And I was buying, business relating books, like, I needed to learn whole vocabulary. I needed to, go through the stages of, understanding how things work, on what the words mean, and how I can, register my business. How do I talk to people? How do I, operate fully in this country? And it was from the beginning. And I think, I don't know if I made this choice consciously or not, but I never lived or worked with for like longer period of time with Polish people, and I never. It's some ways I disconnected myself, because I knew, if I stayed in that community, I will not be able to get where I wanted to go.
That you had to expand your circle.
Yes. And I think there's lots of immigrants in America as well, talking about that, if you stay in a Chinatown, it's almost like you live still in China, and, just stretching yourself and going towards something unknown, and trusting that this is, at the end, it will work. I think it's really important, and trusting that your gut feeling, and getting out of your comfort zone. I mean, if you can do anything, just get out of your comfort zone once a day and try something different, because this is where you can actually learn and expand.
I think that for me, the challenge has been, I'm a bit too analytical sometimes. So I spend a lot of time in my head. And I know that that's been, sometimes it's a blessing, sometimes it's a curse, because I know that there are times when my intuition is leading me one way, but my brain can't see why I should do that. You know what I mean? So there's no rationale to it. So I don't do it. But I always find that when I go against what my instincts are telling me, it always ends up going not the way I want it to. So I've learned to trust my instincts even when it doesn't always make sense, because I don't think that your instincts ever, when you realize that it is your instincts that are kicking in and not fear or anything like that, that you are being led in the right direction. You just have to trust it.
Yeah, and I think this is like a common theme. Like I see that often. We as a women and in general, like human being, we are scared to trust this instinct. We're scared to trust our gut feeling. And sometimes the reason behind it is because we don't know ourselves well enough.
Yes.
So we don't know what actually, when we actually hear this little voice in our head, that we should listen to it, because it's based on some of our internal truth, and which is always with us and was always with us. And our bodies, it's like ingrained in our body. We always deep down, we do know, even if, sometimes it might be like it's, it's, this crazy voice. It's like, it's not rational, how I should be doing this. It's completely irrational and against everything you believe. But if we trust God, I think this is where, real progress can happen.
Yeah, I think so. And well, I know so, because I know that when I've taken those leaps of faith that didn't make any logical sense, that's when some amazing things have happened in my own life. And so I know that when I trust my instincts, when I go ahead and do things, whether I can rationalize it or not, that I'm always pleasantly surprised. It's never a disappointment. So it's just understanding that, everything happens for a reason. And so even when things don't work out, it's not a reflection of you. It's just that it wasn't the right time, or it's not the right path for you to take. And it's just really trying to understand that and be okay with it, and not try to fight it.
I mean, even look at my journey, like, thinking about, think about it. It's like, 25-year-old woman with a backpack and 300 pounds in a pocket, traveling over 20 hours on a bus on her own to a country she never been to, the language she never spoke. That's crazy, but I knew I have to do it. Like, I wouldn't recommend, like, thinking back, I was like, how on earth have you done it? You wouldn't recommend it to anyone, like, oh yeah, okay, grab a bag and
just go for it.
And just go for it. But I had this deep feeling inside me, and I knew this is what I wanted to do. Even if I couldn't explain it, properly, why is that? And there were different things, happening in my life at the time. And, I'm sure they had in some way, one way or another, impact on my decision. But trusting this instinct, and really knowing that I will be all right, whatever happens, I can deal with it. Because I know myself. I think it's a huge lesson for me. And thinking now, would I do it again? I don't know, to be honest. But sometimes you come through things like that and situations like that, and deep down this is what you have to do. And it's a blessing for me. Looking, 15 years later, I am perfectly happy where I am. This is my home. I've got amazing business. I have a partner who is supportive. I have a community around me. I have lovely business buddies like you, Sandra. And life couldn't be better. Probably if someone told me that 15 years ago, this is how you're going to end up, I probably would not believe it. But it's a completely different position. But I would really encourage everyone to trust their gut instinct and really just plan up your, whatever you need to do. Think about, where you're going, and focus on where you're going and stick to it.
Anna, what do you think helped you in the beginning? Were you spiritual at that time? Did you have a spiritual practice? Like, what got you through those challenging times when you first moved out to the UK?
I don't know. I've been always, I've got always very strong, life force in me. Survival. That was always very strong. And at the time, I didn't have a spiritual practice, and I wasn't working on myself as much as I'm working now. But last 10 years, and I talk a lot about that, I've been meditating every day. And that's hugely had a massive, if I can point out to one single thing which helped me achieving what I've got now is in meditation and personal development. That's what I've done last 10 years. And I think it had to be somewhere there, because there's not a chance that being driven to that point in my life right now, if there wasn't something stronger in me. But meditation and journaling and self-development, I've done lots of, in past 10 years. As soon as I learned English, I wanted to get all the books and retreats and mentors and coaches to improve myself. It was very interesting journey at the times, and I learned a lot. I always, there was something I remember, even as a teenager, I always wanted to, I knew there's something more, and there was something. I don't think it's a religion, because I'm coming from a very Catholic, 98% of Polish people are Catholic and they go to, church on Sunday. It never was my thing. I was brought up in that ecosystem, if you call it, in family, and it was we were very religious, but I never thought that's the only thing there is. And I guess it took me, years to realize, and maybe that led me to, to search for something else. But yes, in a short, if I have to put it in a short words, it would be meditation and journaling. Just really, I think that goes back again to, really knowing yourself. Really, if you can invest in anything, just to get to know yourself, what it is you are about.
Yeah, I think self-awareness is so important, because once you start to really learn about yourself and what drives you, and and even connecting with your purpose and what you're really put here to do, that makes such a difference in your life, because it gives you a different sense of clarity, and it motivates you in a different way, because you're not doing things because you have to do them. You're doing them because you really want to do them.
Yes, and I think part of that is, we see recently a lot of, there is so much going on online, and you can see, many people trying to, there's so much noise, and they all try to be someone and get clients and promote their business. But I see, a lot of people being lost with it, because they don't know who they are, and then they have brilliant mentors and they try to be just like them, but not without actually putting what they are about into the learning they get.
Yes.
And I think that can be it can be, in a long term, it can be really damaging, because if you don't know yourself, and if you follow someone, you might end up, in nowhere.
Right, because you're getting pulled in so many different directions, because there's so much information out there telling you how you should be doing whatever it is you're trying to do, right? And so you can, be trying all these different methods and not really figuring out what works for you, because you don't know yourself to really know what would work for you. So you're trying everything and not really focusing on one thing to really get you where you want to go.
Yeah, and there's, the symptom of, shiny penny. I mean, if I was, thinking back, if I was still living in Poland and trying to, figure out what to do with my business, I probably would, close it down, and do as everyone else was doing, probably get a job, and I would still live there, probably happy married with children and, things like that, but not growing as much, because I think that experience really opened the door for me to grow and reevaluate my life and do something different with my life.
So Anna, you talked about, the lesson you learned from your journey. What advice would you give to someone who was thinking about doing something like what you did, like leaving their home country and going somewhere brand new?
Really research that. Really just, ask yourself what is the reason why you're going? What's your plan? How what you're gonna do once you get there, and create your plan B and plan C. When I came, I think it's really, and maybe that's what made me, when I came over, I actually had the open ticket on my, on my bus. And I meant to, so the open, I had a return ticket for 2 weeks after I arrived. So I always knew if it was like really bad, I could go back on that bus 2 weeks later after I arrived. But I realized, maybe I can make it work. And within a week, I found a paid job. And I realized I can make it work for longer. So I went to the travel agent, and I opened the ticket so I can go back. If things go wrong, I can go back by Christmas. So there was always this like a, safety net. So I always knew worst case scenario, I can go back on the same ticket. I don't even have to spend money on thinking about, how I'm going to get home. I have always this ticket, and I, in some ways, because I had this security, it actually helped me, keep going and stretching myself. And I still have that ticket, valid or not. So there is an option, and it just makes it safe, because you think, what, when it comes, if it comes to worse, I can always use that ticket. Of course, I cannot use my ticket, but there is always ticket home.
Yeah. I think that's the big thing is you have to, sometimes when you're on the fence about something, you just have to ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? Because I think sometimes we create these, nightmare worst case scenarios in our mind, and the chances of them ever happening are slim to none. And even if it did happen, is it going to be the end of your life? Will you be able to bounce back? And I think that's we can talk ourselves out of doing things so often because we focus on what could go wrong when we could just shift our focus and think about what amazing things could happen.
Yeah. Once you have that ticket, you can focus on the good things, and you always know, because you figure out, what is the worst can happen, and create a plan for what do I need if worse happen? How it will not look like to me, and how can I make it, impact me less, and how I can prepare myself. If you do that, and I talk about it a lot in business as well. Prepare yourself financially. Set aside, a money if there is a bad month and then you have to still pay your VA or things like that. Just put money on the side so you don't feel like it's the end of the world and you cannot go in, because things like that happen all the time. Like we had a massive recession and people lost their job and they couldn't pay the mortgages and things like that. But if we prepare ourselves, there's always plan B at the back. We don't have to focus too much on it, but just make it once and just go for whatever it is in front of you, because if worst case scenario, you can always go back to plan B.
Right. So it's just really about being prepared.
In one way or another, whatever it is, open ticket or there's a little bit money on the side, or if it doesn't work in this country, can I go to some other country? I just, thinking about it, it was just one friend I knew here and no one else. And it's like, it worked because I made it work. And everyone else can make it work. You just have to be determined and very resourceful and really look for solutions when things don't work. And have this resilience. And you know what? Sometimes you will have to sleep, on a single mattress in a shared house where you don't know anyone. Because I had these situations as well when I was between houses, and I was living with people I didn't know.
Yeah, you have to be flexible.
Yeah, but this is where the adventure is.
Yeah.
And you can
you really learn a lot about yourself that way, I think.
Yeah. And you stretch yourself, and but I think not many people are willing to start their business. Not many people are successful in running their business. So you have to measure what is for you, and it's like are you gonna settle for average, or are you gonna do something amazing? And amazing things. If you want amazing things, you need to do amazing things, and you really need to push yourself, because if that was easy, everyone would be doing it.
Yes, that's right. Anna, thank you so much for sharing your story, your experiences, and your wisdom. To please tell people where they can find you.
Thank you so much, Sandra, for having me. I really enjoyed this interview, and reflecting on my past journey as well. It brought some great memories for me. I like to hang out on Instagram recently. It's my favorite social media, so do find me there at annawilk.com, or visit my website, which is annawilk.com. And if you're in a members club, please do say hello.
And if you're in your car listening or working out and listening right now, you can go back to the show notes, and Anna's website and social media links will be in the notes, so you can find her and connect with her and learn more about her there as well. So again, Anna, thank you so much. Thank you for your time, and we'll be connecting again soon.
Thank you very much, Sandra, and everyone else.
Enjoy your day, guys.